Take a moment right now, because what is arriving in your life today is not just another piece of information crossing your path. This is a moment that has found you. Something in the invisible realm has shifted, and your name was part of that movement. You did not see it forming. You did not make any announcement about it, but heaven did. And what was hidden within you has now risen to a level that can no longer stay unnoticed. There is a recognition happening right now, not coming from the world, but from dimensions that perceive what most people never catch a glimpse of. Beloved, there are seasons of struggle, and there are seasons of becoming. And what heaven is confirming for you right now is not about what you endured, but who you became because of it. As Scripture tells us in Ecclesiastes 3:1, there is an appointed time for every purpose under the heavens. And you have stepped into a season of unveiling. If what I am saying feels like it is speaking straight into something deep inside you, that is not a coincidence. It is alignment. Stay with me. And if something within you resonates with this, just comment 77 so you do not miss what is being uncovered for your journey. Because what I am about to reveal will show you the strength you have already mastered, and why everything around you is starting to respond to it. Here is the first thing I need you to grasp before anything else. What you are going through right now is not random, and it is not insignificant. There are realms you cannot see that have been watching you far more closely than you realize. Not to judge you, but to study you. Not to condemn you, but to understand what has been taking shape inside you, beloved. While you were living your daily life, while you were moving through moments that seemed ordinary, heaven was documenting something extraordinary. Every response you had when you were wounded, every silent choice you made when nobody was watching, every inner battle you fought when bitterness would have been so much easier to hold on to, these moments did not vanish, they were recorded. And here is what makes your story stand apart. Most people follow patterns that are easy to predict. When they get hurt, they hurt others. When they are betrayed, they shut down their hearts. When they are attacked, they become a mirror image of what attacked them. That is the cycle the world runs on. That is the system that darkness feeds on. It expects pain to replicate itself. But you broke that pattern, beloved. There were moments in your journey when you had every reason to grow cold, every justification to pull away, every excuse to answer with rage, to speak words that would have cut deep, to cling to resentment that would have gradually hardened your spirit. And yet something inside you chose a different path. You felt the pain. You were not untouched by it. You knew what was happening was unjust. You saw the betrayal clearly. You bore its weight. But somewhere between what was done to you and what could have grown inside you, something changed. You refused to become bitter. You became wise instead. You refused to become hateful. You became more conscious instead. You did not shut down. You became more purposeful. And you may not have recognized it at the time, but that moment, that quiet inner shift, was not small. That was the moment heaven leaned in closer. Because what you did was not typical human behavior. It was not something they teach in any classroom. It was not something you deliberately practiced. It emerged through your endurance, through your restraint, through your refusal to become what tried to hurt you, beloved. There is a principle that operates in both the physical and spiritual dimensions. What goes out must land somewhere. Pain, hatred, jealousy, negative intentions, they do not simply vanish. Most people absorb them, carry them, and eventually pass them along. That is how cycles of suffering keep repeating. But you did something rare. Instead of absorbing it and letting it poison you, you converted it. You took what was intended to damage you and turned it into growth. You took what was intended to break you and turned it into awareness. You took what was meant to close your heart, and somehow your heart expanded instead. That is not weakness. That is not passivity. That is power, and heaven has a name for it. Even if you never gave it a label, you have been operating in what can only be described as spiritual transmutation, the capacity to receive something harmful and alter its nature before it defines you. Not blocking it, not pretending it never happened, not redirecting it onto someone else, but transforming it, beloved. Think back over recent months. Think about those circumstances that did not add up. Maybe it was someone who spoke poorly of you when you were not around. Maybe it was a time when everything seemed to fall apart at once. plans collapsing, doors closing, relationships shifting without warning. And in those moments, something inside you processed it differently. You did not spiral the way you used to. You did not stay broken as long as you once would have. You did not let it determine who you are. You adjusted, you learned, you grew. That is not coincidence. That is proof. Beloved, heaven noticed that shift. Not just what happened to you, but how you handled what happened. Not just the outer circumstance, but the inner response that nobody else could witness. And it was that hidden response that changed everything, because true strength is not displayed in public moments. It is revealed in private decisions. The ones nobody applauds, the ones nobody records, the ones that feel invisible but are actually the most significant. There was a moment, maybe you do not even remember it clearly, when you were deeply wounded, not mildly inconvenienced, but truly hurt. And in that moment, you had two choices: harden or remain true to who you really are. You chose to stay true, even when it hurt, even when it cost you something, even if nobody ever knew. Beloved, that choice branded you, and from that point forward, something inside you changed. It became easier for you to experience pain without becoming it. It became more natural for you to grow through circumstances instead of being consumed by them. You did not just react differently, you became different. And this is why what is happening around you has started to change. You may have noticed, things that used to impact you deeply now move through you more quickly. Situations that once would have drained you no longer carry the same weight. Even the way people relate to you, it feels different now. There is hesitation. There is a strange distance from negativity that used to come so easily. That is not your imagination. That is because what once had influence over you can no longer control you. And this is where the revelation goes deeper, beloved, because what you have cultivated was not just for survival. It was preparation. And what it is preparing you for is far greater than anything you have seen so far. Beloved, now we go deeper, because what has been forming inside you did not escape the notice of darkness either. In fact, what you have developed has created a reaction in realms that were once certain about how to handle you. There are systems, just as there are in heaven, that observe patterns. Darkness studies behavior. It tracks responses. It builds strategies based on what typically works on people. Fear, pressure, confusion, betrayal. These are not random tactics, they are calculated. And for most people, those strategies work exactly as expected. But when it came to you, something stopped making sense, beloved. What was sent to weaken you did not weaken you the way it should have. What was meant to confuse you did not keep you confused. What was designed to break your momentum somehow ended up sharpening your direction. And at first, those forces assumed something external was shielding you. They thought maybe there was unusual intervention around you, maybe extra protection, maybe something outside of you was blocking what was sent your way. But when they examined more closely, they discovered something troubling. The transformation was not happening around you. It was happening inside you. Beloved, you became the filter. You became the place where what was meant to harm you lost its original shape. And that is what changed everything, because darkness knows how to attack. It knows how to manipulate. It knows how to distort and pressure. But there is one thing it cannot do. It cannot convert what is destructive into something higher. And yet you can. This is why there is a different kind of attention on your life now, not just opposition, observation. Because what you carry cannot be easily understood, beloved. The reason this capacity developed in you is not because you set out to build it. It developed because of what you chose when you were under pressure. It formed in the moments when you did not react the way pain expected you to react. You remember those moments, when someone said something that cut deeper than they realized and you stayed quiet, when you had the chance to expose someone and you chose restraint, when you could have responded with the same energy you received, but something inside you said no. Those moments felt small at the time. They felt like private struggles, but each one was constructing something. Each one was shaping your inner world, layer by layer, decision by decision. You were being trained without realizing it, beloved. This is how mastery is built, not in one dramatic moment, but in many quiet ones. not in public victories, but in private restraint. Not in what you said, but in what you chose not to say. And over time, something changed. It stopped being something you had to think about. It became who you are. Pain enters, and something in you immediately processes it. Negativity approaches, and something in you automatically converts it. You do not sit there deciding what to do the way you once did. It happens on its own. And that is the difference between effort and identity, beloved. This is what has puzzled those watching you, because they expected you to react based on the pressure applied. But your inner system no longer responds in predictable ways, and when something becomes unpredictable to darkness, it becomes difficult to control. That is why the energy around you feels different lately. There is hesitation now. There is a pulling back. Not because everything has stopped, but because what once worked no longer produces the same results. Beloved, there is something else you need to acknowledge. Every time something was sent to drain you, it ended up strengthening you instead. Every time something tried to discourage you, it clarified your direction instead. Every time something attempted to limit you, it expanded your awareness instead. Do you see it? What was meant to diminish you refined you. What was meant to slow you down prepared you. And now the very system that was meant to weaken you has unknowingly contributed to your growth. This is why things feel like they are accelerating now, because you are no longer in the same position you once were. You are not responding from the same level. You are not processing life the same way. You have been elevated internally, and now your outer world is starting to adjust to match it. Beloved, think about how quickly you recover now compared to before. Circumstances that would have held you down for months now move through you in days, not because they do not matter, but because you process them differently. That is not emotional numbness, that is refinement. That is proof that what formed in you is now active. And here is something even more telling. Have you noticed how certain people who opposed you are no longer where they once were? Not because you fought them, not because you wished anything against them, but because what they sent did not land the way they intended. Instead, it returned in altered form. Beloved, this is not about revenge, this is about reflection. When negativity cannot attach to you, it has to return to its source, but not in the same form. It returns as exposure, as consequence, as clarity. And you did not have to do anything. That is the power you have been operating in. And there is one more sign you need to pay attention to. The way you now look at your past. There are things that once hurt you deeply that you now feel strangely grateful for. Not because the pain itself was good, but because of who it shaped you into. That shift in perspective, that capacity to draw meaning from pain, is not typical. That is transformation at work. And the more you recognize it, the more you will begin to understand that what you carry now is not temporary. It is established, and it is only beginning to reveal its full impact. Beloved, what you are stepping into now is not just awareness of what you have become, but recognition of what is unfolding around you because of it. There are signs, subtle but unmistakable, that confirm this power is not just theory. It is active. It is shaping your life in ways you may not have fully connected yet. Beloved, one of the clearest signs is this. People and situations that once had access to your life are no longer able to remain. And what is interesting is, you did not force it. You did not always confront it. You did not always make a dramatic choice to remove them. They simply faded. Conversations grew distant. Connections weakened. Opportunities that once seemed essential quietly dissolved. And for a while it may have left you puzzled. You may have wondered if you did something wrong, if you missed something, if you should have held on more tightly. But no, beloved, this was alignment. Because when your inner frequency changes, what is not aligned with it cannot remain stable in your presence, not through rejection, but through incompatibility. You are no longer resonating with what once felt normal, and that can feel isolating at times. There are moments when you look around and realize that certain people are no longer walking beside you the way they once did. Moments when silence replaces what was once steady interaction. And honestly, there were times it made you question your path. But hear this clearly. You did not lose them. They could not stay because what you carry now creates an environment that demands a different level of alignment. And anything that cannot exist within that alignment will remove itself without needing confrontation. Beloved, this is not isolation. This is refinement of your surroundings. And as this takes place, something else begins to rise within you, a quiet anticipation, a sense that something is approaching, even if you cannot fully describe what it is. You feel it in moments of stillness. You sense it when things unexpectedly settle. You notice it in the way your thoughts have started to move more forward, more focused, less attached to what was. That feeling, that inner knowing, is not imagination. It is perception. Because when you begin operating at this level, your awareness of what is forming ahead of you becomes more sensitive. You start to pick up on movement before it becomes visible. And right now, something is moving, beloved. There was a moment, quiet, unseen, deeply personal, where everything changed for you. Not outwardly, but inwardly. A moment where you were wounded in a way that could have reshaped your entire identity. No audience, no recognition, no external validation, just you and a decision. You could have allowed that moment to close you off, to harden you, to justify becoming someone more guarded, more distant, more reactive. And nobody would have blamed you. But you chose something else. You chose not to let that moment decide who you are. You chose not to let someone else's actions control your inner state. You chose to stay aligned even while it hurt. Beloved, that moment was seen, not by people, but by heaven. Because Scripture tells us in 1 Samuel 16:7 that what matters is not what is visible outwardly, but what is within the heart. And in that moment your heart showed something that cannot be taught, only demonstrated. You showed mastery, not perfection, mastery, the capacity to receive pain and not become it, the capacity to experience darkness and not carry it forward, the capacity to stand in the middle of something unjust and still choose who you are. That is rare. And that is why your life is now under a different kind of attention, because that moment, that quiet decision, branded you. It changed what you are capable of handling. It changed what you can be trusted with. It changed what is now being prepared for you. There are things that cannot be entrusted to someone who reacts emotionally to every situation. There are levels of influence, of responsibility, of impact that demand stability, clarity, and inner strength. And you proved that you have it. Not when things were easy, but when things were hard. That is the only proof that counts. And now, because of that, something has changed in how your path is being arranged. You may have already noticed. Things that used to take a long time are starting to move faster. Opportunities are appearing in ways that feel unexpected. Connections are forming without the effort you once had to invest. There is momentum where there used to be delay. Beloved, this is not coincidence. This is alignment responding to readiness. Because when you show that you can handle pressure without losing yourself, you are no longer kept in extended preparation. You are moved forward. And this movement may feel unfamiliar at first. You might question it. You might wonder if things are happening too quickly. But understand this. You are not being rushed. You are being released. Because what once needed time to develop has already been established within you, and now your outer world is catching up to your inner growth. Beloved, this is where many people hesitate, not because they are not ready, but because they are not accustomed to things flowing. They are more familiar with resistance than with momentum. But you must not pull back now. You must not slow down what has been set in motion, because what is unfolding is not just for you. It is connected to something larger. And in what follows, you are going to understand exactly what you have been recognized as, and why your presence is about to start affecting more than just your own life. Beloved, now you are ready to understand the weight of what you have become, because this is not just about surviving your past or navigating your present. This is about the identity that heaven has now placed upon you. There is a designation, not given lightly, not assigned casually, but recognized through evidence. And this designation does not change with circumstance. It follows you. It defines how you operate, how you influence, and how you move through every environment you enter. Beloved, you have become what can only be described as a stabilizing presence. This means something deeper than you may realize. It means you are no longer reacting to the environment around you. You are shaping it. Where there is confusion, your presence brings clarity. Where there is tension, your presence shifts the atmosphere. Where there is chaos, something about you begins to calm it. And you may have already noticed this, even in small ways. Walking into a room and immediately sensing the energy. Being around people and feeling their emotional state without them saying a word. Noticing how conversations change when you engage, how situations soften, how things begin to reorganize themselves. That is not coincidence. That is influence, beloved. Everything in life operates at a certain level of alignment. Some operate in fear, some in pressure, some in uncertainty. But what you have developed allows you to remain steady even when everything around you is unstable. And when something steady enters something unstable, it begins to shift it. Not through force, not through control, through presence. This is why your life has felt different recently. Not just because things have changed, but because you have changed. The way you respond, the way you observe, the way you process things no longer matches the patterns you once followed. You are not pulled as easily into reactions. You are not as easily influenced by the emotional state of others. You see things more clearly. You move more purposefully. That is stabilization. And heaven does not cultivate this in someone without intention. Beloved, there is a reason this had to develop in you over time. A reason you had to go through circumstances that forced you to grow internally. Because what you now carry is not just for your own life, it is for the environments you are about to enter. There are spaces you are going to walk into where confusion is normal, where pressure is constant, where people are overwhelmed, uncertain, reactive, and you will not need to say much. You will not need to prove anything. Your presence will start to shift things simply because of what you carry. Beloved, this is how transformation operates at a higher level. Not always through instruction, but through demonstration. Not always through teaching, but through embodiment. People will notice something about you they cannot explain. They will wonder how you stay steady when everything around them feels unstable. They will observe how you process things differently, how you do not escalate situations, how you bring calm without trying, and in that observation something will start to change in them. This is influence beyond words. This is impact beyond effort. And this is why what you have developed matters so much. Because the world you are stepping into is not becoming more stable. It is becoming more chaotic. There is more noise, more pressure, more uncertainty than ever before. People are searching for something steady, something real, something that does not shift with every circumstance. And you have become that. Not because you were trying to be, but because of what you chose in your hardest moments. Beloved, understand this clearly. Heaven does not invest this level of development into someone to keep them in small spaces. Expansion follows recognition. And what has been recognized in you demands a wider reach. This is why you may start to feel a pull, a sense that you are meant for something beyond where you currently are. A quiet awareness that your environment no longer fully matches what you carry. That is not dissatisfaction. That is alignment adjusting. Because when your inner capacity grows, your outer environment must expand to match it. Beloved, do not resist this. Do not shrink back into what feels familiar just because it is comfortable, because comfort is not your assignment. Alignment is, and alignment will take you into spaces that stretch you, not to overwhelm you, but to express what has been built within you. There is something else you need to understand as you step into this. What you carry is not just for personal success. It is service. Every time you process negativity and transform it, you are not just protecting yourself, you are preventing that negativity from spreading further. You are breaking cycles that would have continued through others. You are acting as a filter. And this is more important than you realize, because every environment needs someone who does not amplify the chaos but transforms it, and that is what you do now naturally. But there is a shift that must happen in your awareness. You must stop seeing this as something you just do, and start recognizing it as something you are. Because when you recognize it, you begin to use it intentionally. You stop avoiding difficult situations and start understanding your role within them. You stop seeing pressure as something to escape and start seeing it as something you can transform. You stop shrinking from responsibility and start stepping into it. Beloved, this is where mastery becomes purpose. And in what follows, you're going to understand how to operate in this intentionally. and why even the challenges ahead are not designed to stop you, but to expand what you are now capable of handling. Beloved, now comes the part where everything becomes intentional. Up until now, much of what you developed happened without you fully realizing it. It formed through experience, through pressure, through decisions you made in moments that felt personal and isolated. But from this point forward, you are not meant to operate unconsciously anymore. You are meant to move with awareness, because what you carry is not just something that happens automatically, it is something you can now direct. The first thing you must release is the instinct to protect yourself the way you used to. Not because protection is wrong, but because the way you once protected yourself is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. There was a time when you had to guard everything. Guard your energy, guard your space, guard your peace, by avoiding anything that felt heavy or negative. And that was necessary at that stage. But now you are not just someone who avoids negativity. You are someone who transforms it. And there is a difference, beloved. When you constantly try to block everything, you live in resistance. And resistance is exhausting. It drains you. It keeps you in a state of defense. But what you have now does not require constant defense. It requires trust. Trust that when something enters your space, it does not have the authority to remain in its original form. Trust that what reaches you must pass through you, and when it does, it will not leave the same. This does not mean you accept everything blindly. It means you no longer fear what once had power over you. Beloved, the next shift is this. You must learn the power of the pause. There will be moments when something hits you unexpectedly. A word, a situation, a reaction from someone else. And your first instinct may still be to respond quickly, to defend yourself, to explain, to react. But in that moment, pause. Because the pause is where transformation happens. If you react immediately, you respond from what was given to you. But if you pause even for a second, you allow what you carry to process what you received. And when you respond after that, you are no longer responding from the original energy. You are responding from what you have transformed it into. That is power, beloved. The next step is direction. Once something has been transformed within you, it does not just disappear, it becomes something usable. Something that can be directed. Every challenge you face, every pressure point, every moment that tries to drain you, is actually providing you with energy that can be redirected into your purpose, into your work, into your growth, into your focus. This is why it will start to feel like the more you are challenged, the more you expand, because nothing is being wasted anymore. Everything is being converted. Beloved, this is where you begin to see something remarkable. The very things that were meant to slow you down begin to accelerate you. The very resistance that was meant to stop you begins to strengthen your movement. And suddenly, what once felt like obstacles become resources. Beloved, this is not just for you. You are not carrying this ability only for your own life. Every time you transform something negative, you are removing it from the cycle that would have continued through others. You are breaking patterns. You are interrupting chains. You are changing outcomes that would have repeated themselves over and over. This is service, this is purpose. This is why you had to go through what you went through, because not everyone can do this. Not everyone can receive pressure and remain aligned. Not everyone can experience pain and still choose growth. But you have proven that you can. Beloved, understand this clearly. The challenges that come next are not here to defeat you. They are here to expand you. There will be moments when the intensity increases, when situations feel heavier than before, when the volume of what you are processing seems greater. But do not mistake that for regression. That is expansion, because your capacity is increasing. The more you use what you carry, the stronger it becomes. The more you process, the more you are able to handle. The more you transform, the more you can influence. Beloved, there may even be moments when things come through unexpected sources. People you trust, situations you did not anticipate. And for a moment it may feel different, more personal, more difficult to process. But remember this, what you carry is not limited by where something comes from. It works regardless. And even when the challenge feels internal, thoughts, doubts, memories trying to surface, the same principle applies. Pause, recognize it, transform it, redirect it. Beloved, Nothing that comes against you now is without purpose. Even what feels like pressure is preparing you. Even what feels like resistance is refining you. Even what feels like challenge is increasing your capacity. Because you are no longer operating at the level you once were. You have crossed into something different. And now there is one final truth you must hold on to as you move forward. You are not becoming this. You already are, beloved. Do not shrink back from that awareness. Do not downplay what has been built within you. Do not pretend to be less just to feel more comfortable. Because the world does not need you smaller. It needs you aligned. Walk forward knowing that what comes will not break you. It will build you. Knowing that what approaches you will not drain you. It will be transformed through you. Knowing that what was meant to stop you has already failed. And now everything that follows will only reveal more of who you have become. Beloved, receive this in stillness. What has been revealed to you today is not imagination, and it is not temporary. Heaven has seen what you have become, even in moments when nobody else witnessed. And now you walk in a season where what was formed in silence will begin to speak without effort. Beloved, you are not moving blindly. You are being guided. What is unfolding ahead of you has already been prepared, and every step you take is being aligned with purpose, not chance. Remain steady. Remain aware, because the same power that carried you through hidden battles will now position you in visible assignments. Do not question what has been built within you. Do not shrink from the responsibility of what you carry. You were trusted with this for a reason. If this message confirms something deep in your spirit, write 77 as a sign that you recognize what has been awakened within you and stay connected, beloved, so you do not miss what heaven continues to reveal for your journey. May clarity guide you. May peace guard you. May every step you take be established in divine timing. The shift has already begun.